Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And now that the Jubilee videos are out of the way, I can actually focus on the showcases for the new characters that were in said Jubilee videos. So we're going to start with the Antagonist meta units with the Awakened Isis, our very first summonable Isis ever in the game after 3 years, which is crazy to think about because it was like the building block of originality that this game was marketed for when the game first came out. But this is her Awakened Isis form. She is one of the new EX UNBOUND characters, and if you don't know what that is, I made a video previously going over that and their differences, so I'm going to put a link to that in the description below. But she is space, she is magic, she uses a book, she's on Antagonist, Schemer, and Dragon Isekai, and her ult is a support Unbound ult, so it's 250% single target, not very strong, but right now at level 104 with no other stuff put into her ability release board, she's giving Antagonist allies 25% permanent weakness strike, and it hits both the front and back line every time you ult with her. And if it's an EX ult, she does not get extra damage. She gets she gets double of whatever her weakness strike buff is. So right now it's 25. If you EX, it's a 50% permanent weakness strike buff. It only applies to Antagonist though, so it's not going to help anyone that's not on that specific force. Her first skill, really powerful for a 50-point skill. 30% magic resistance down, and within the first 5 turns, 120% ult resistance down as well. It is a pure debuff skill, which means you cannot hold it on any characters, but it also means you can use it and then send her away and not have to worry about it. And then her second skill, Portfolio, is a 30-point skill, applies Drago to all magic allies. Drago is a buff that gives you a 20% extra stat gain to any additional buffs placed on a character. So this 30% pierce power with the Drago effect is 36% pierce power. A 100% magic buff is now 120% magic buff. So it applies like that, and it's to all magic characters, which is half the game. So that's very good. Pierce power, 30%, it's not very strong, but it's not a very costly skill either. So I'm here more for the Drago buff than the pierce power. She has the true attribute Unbound, where between turns 3, 4, and 5, she gets extra weak point damage if she's type advantage or she's on a team that gives her extra damage. Her Valor trait is shit, and her actual trait gives you extra skill points. But that's a lot of information. Again, if you don't know what Unbound characters do and the more specifics of this and the true attribute, go watch the video that covers what Unbound characters are. But let's just jump into her team. Alright, we're going to start off in Inferno 1 of the Antagonist beatdown battle. We're going to use the full power of this team as such. So Emil's, Violet, the new Isis, Rimuru, Hinata, and Shinsha. So we're not bringing the Benimaru. We'll bring him for his own showcase video. But she's going to be really powerful here because she's going to give Pierce power to Shinsha, which she wants. She's going to give the Drago effect, which is going to enhance the magic buff, the Pierce power buff, the attack buff, the element buff. All these are going to get a 20% increase by having that Drago effect put on Shinsha, which means she's going to hit like a friggin' truck trying to isekai characters from anime. Okay, so turn 1, we have 36 points, so we can bring Shinsha in. Since the Isis is on Antagonist, we can take advantage of the convert right here, and it'll change this entire hand to oranges. Excellent. We're not really going to see a lot of use for Isis until we're ready to nuke. Unless you get multiple ults for her or something, and you can really get some stacks in with her weakness strike to give to Shinsha or to give to Violet, since they're both Antagonist. Okay, so here it's like, sure, we can make it work. Oh, I should have brought in Hinata. That would give us the extra gauge, huh? Alright, hold on. Okay, now that we brought Hinata in, she's got protection gauge underneath her. We actually have access to Emil's here. So, this hand, we're going to get the Shinsha EX ult, I think. Hopefully. Let's use the future hand of oranges, and then let's bring Violet in for Hinata. Boom. We'll use Emil's, we'll change this entire hand, we'll get some rainbow orbs, That's good. This should get us the EX ult now, and we'll spread this damage out. This will also give us the Isis ult, but we're not going to use that quite yet, because I'm going to ult swap away next turn so we get a number of rainbow orbs. So again, she is a pure raw support character. Like, she can't even do decent damage because she doesn't get an EX ult. She gets extra weakness strike. But here's the unbound status coming in now. So now we're within turn 3, 4, and 5. So because she's underneath Emils, who is giving Antagonist extra damage to dark enemies, we're going to do extra damage when turn 3 hits because of the unbound status. Which, again, doesn't really matter all that much because we're going to have some rainbow orbs here. Let's do the magic buff, and then we'll bring Rimuru in for Violet, and also use the attack buff and then the alt swap. So we get 2 rainbows. Perfect. And then we'll bring in Hinata for Shinsha. So now she's got the magic buff and the attack buff active. We don't have to use a Mills here. And then we can try and work towards getting an EX ult for Isis, which we do. Which means that next turn, we can send this ult, and we're going to give Shinsha 50% extra weakness strike just because she's ulting. And you can see the true unbound status gives her the nice blue coloring on the damage icons. It's a really nice, cool visual thing. So here, yeah, it's not super great. We got a lot of points, though. Nothing we can really do at the moment, so we're just going to use a Mills because we got a double of him, give this hand entire orange, but right here, it's now 50% instead of 25. Why? Because it's an EX ult. We've got double ult gauge, so we're going to give Shinsha, even though she's in the back, and technically we're going to give it to Violet too, because she's Antagonist, 50% weakness strike, which this team didn't have in a battle skill from anybody. No one has weakness strike in their skills. We're going to get it from the alt effect, though. So we'll send 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're going to get extra damage because we are in that true unbound status, so we'll do a little bit. I realized during that clip that I didn't actually show the Isis ult because it was on auto skip, so we'll give it to you here, and then we'll go back to the actual the actual real gameplay. I had to go back into the fight and re-record this. It's the same ult that we have from the story mode, where she first appeared in her awakened form. 44k there. Alright, yeah, not great, but it's not super duper impressive, but this is her showcase, so I've got to put it in. 336k. We don't have any buffs, though, but that is more damage than what she normally would have done on, like, turn 2 or turn 8 or something like that. But now we're on turn 5. There's a debuff. Okay, fine, whatever. Just don't kill her, please. Alright. Oh, okay, thank you. That's fine. Rimuru has an ult, good, so he can come out of here. So now we'll bring Shinsha in for Rimuru. We've already used the Violet buff, so we don't need to worry about that. We've already used the attack buff from Rimuru. But let's apply the element buff, the alt buff, and then the magic resistance down. And then let's compare. So, eventually, once this kicks in, Shinsha right now has 20% attack, 20% defense, 100% pierce rate, 100% magic attack, 70% attack, 50% weakness strike, coming from the ult that we did with Isis last turn, so it's on her, and then we have the all element buff for 50%. But now when we apply the Drago skill, 1, we're going to get 30% pierce power, but 2, now we go back and check. Now it's 24% attack and defense. Now it's 120% pierce rate, which doesn't actually matter. 120% magic attack, 84% attack, 60% weakness strike, 60% element buff, and then pierce power 36%. So that's the Drago effect kicking in and giving every buff that's on Shinsha a 20% kick. It does not affect the ult because it's not a character buff, it's an orb buff. So that's still going to remain 100. And it's not going to hit the debuffs because it's only affecting the character buffs. So 60% pierce resistance down, 30% magic resistance, 120% alt resistance down. This is a very, very powerful character. Just one, because of her debuffs, and two, because of the power of Drago enhancing everything. So you imagine this on the Visions of Coleus team or something that's magic focused. 120% resistance down plus the Drago effect enhancing all of those buffs. Like, that's going to be really, really good. So let's make sure that Shincha's ult is on, and we can watch the raw power of this. We don't have to use the mills here, but we're going to do it anyways because I want to. And let's see the damage that Shinsha does on this ridiculous nuke. So, true benefits of Isis: massive debuffs, the Drago effect enhancing our buffs, and the free 50% weakness strike that we didn't have in a battle skill, also given to Shinsha. All to enhance the power of her team. And she does 7.5 million damage. Like, that's that's a lot of damage, okay, guys? I don't know if you know that, but that's a lot of damage in 5 turns. 7.5 million a pop. Yeah, she's going to enhance a lot of characters throughout the game. And even if you're not on a Pierce-focused team, if you're still a magic team, like the Visions of Coleus team is not Pierce-focused. The Pierce power doesn't mean anything unless you have Pierce rate. So, by bringing the Drago effect, you're still going to benefit off of that. And the debuffs you're definitely going to benefit from if it's a magic team, which you want to run this Isis on a magic team. Just know that if you're not on an antagonist team, you're not going to get that weakness strike buff because it only applies to antagonist. Okay, so we're going to try and use Isis within 5 turns on a traditional stacking team. We're just not going to stack very much. So we're going to go into Tempered Edge Veldora EX5. He's got quite a bit of HP. We'll nuke Blanc since she's type advantage. And we're going to put Isis in here alongside Coleus Rimuru for his rainbow orbs with 2 big-time orb changers, Violet with the magic buff and Guy for his alt buff. We're not going to bring Jean because that's a little too much points that we're probably not going to have. And we're going to see how much damage we can do in 5 turns so we can take advantage of the 120% magic resistance down on top of, or 100%, 120 alt resistance down alongside the 30% magic down. Will this work? I'm hoping to supercharge with Coleus Rimuru, but it might take a few runs. Shockingly, this went really well. I got it on my first try, so I didn't even need to just record it and do voiceover, but oh well. So turn 1, you could either use Violet or Guy's orb change, it really doesn't matter. We brought both of them so they could handle almost any scenario. And then we're just going to send blues, and we're going to see how much we can stack up in 5 turns, and then if we can actually activate everything in 5 turns, with costs going higher and higher and higher. And I feel like we will be able to, especially with our starting skill points at 150, and now it's 200 on turn 2, means that we have a lot of extra cap. And here we got really lucky, we just needed to use 1 orb change. It's Violet's again, but hey, whatever. Left that on, so we're going to turn that off really fast. And we got a lot of Blanc orbs, which is really good, because we're trying to rush the ult. So turn 3, we're really looking for a full hand of blues, and then the rainbow, with preferably multiple Blanc orbs, which we have, I don't know if I showed it, but I've got Bride Shuna underneath Blanc to give us ult gauge for the first 3 turns, just to help her out a little bit. And I think that does make a difference here, because we get that little bit extra right there, and then we have a good Guy convert right here. So we can alt swap with Blanc, convert with Guy, and then bring in Rimuru for the rainbow orbs, and that will get us the EX alt. So, this is going quite well, and we already have up to, 250 points now? Yeah, that's our cap. So, rainbow orbs, boom, that's a lot of ult gauge for everybody, a lot of protection gauge, a lot of points. So we'll bring Isis in now, and then we'll send all this. Now what I do is I actually use the magic buff and hold on to it on this turn, but I wasn't sure what turn 4 was going to look like on orbs, so I was like, okay, well, turn 5. So I wanted to make sure we have points, but we have plenty. So 253 points, let's use 2 stacks of not Violet, but Lumi. We'll use the magic buff and the alt swap now, and then we'll send Blanc to the back. And we'll also use the Drago effect, so we can enhance the buffs. And even though we've already applied Drago, any other buffs we put on afterwards will also get that effect. So, Guy Orb change right here, we're down to 48 points. So in case we don't make back quite enough, which we do, thankfully, then I would have already had the magic buff, and we would have just had to use the Blanc buff, the Guy buff, and then 50 points from Izis. So it works out very well. We have max points, we have one more stack of Lumi to do. We'll use the alt buff now because it'll still hit the backline, and then Guy can come out, or Violet can come out. Either one works. But we are ready to go. This is turn 5. This is the absolute end of the existence of the 120% magic down. So one more stack of Lumi, and then we'll check out everything that we've got going on here. So on Veldora, we have the magic down, alt resistance down, and then the synergy down from Blanc. And then Blanc herself has 110.4% attack, 6% magic attack, 24% weakness strike from a barrier stone, 120 magic, 36 pierce, which doesn't matter, and then 120 weakness. So let's turn Blanc's animation on. We'll send one orb just to see how much it does for funsy onesies. And keep in mind that Veldora still has a lot of defense. He has like 80% defense right now. So if we were to do this on turn 8, we actually wouldn't benefit from the the alt resistance down, but he wouldn't have a lot of extra defense to begin with. So it's kind of a trade-off. We do more damage here than we would if we were to stack for 8 turns, I think. But we do 4.1 million damage in 5 turns with a traditional blue stacking team, right? Everyone except Izis on this team is meant for a blue stacking conversion and just a long fight. So this works out really, really well, and I'm really impressed with Izis. Alright, final part of the video. What's another really good burst magic team? Exalted Champions. The 2.5 anniversary team. Still a powerhouse, and now it's going to get a little bit more powerful even now, because we're going to take Violet off, and we're going to bring Izis. So, we've traded an 80-point magic buff for 80 points worth of debuffs and a little bit of buff. Now, the only unfortunate thing is that the Drago effect that Izis is giving is already being covered by Velzard, so we don't really need that, really. But we can still take advantage of the magic resistance down and the 120% alt resistance down. So if I really want to do some stupid damage, I would probably take Veldora off and just put Violet there, and then hold that buff and the attack buff, and then come back in on the next turn and use like the Millen buff, the Guy buff, and and then the debuffs here. Maybe we'll do that for funsies, depending on what the starting hand looks like, because this is not a set starting hand stage. I think we'll do that. I want to see big damage. Okay, well, that's what I get for taking Veldora off. We get a starting Veldora hand. Oh well, whatever. Let's bring Milliman for Violet, and let's bring you in because you've got protection gauge underneath you, so we'll take Rimuru out. And we'll just send these 4 green orbs. We've got a type advantage plus the extra weak point versus a water enemy, so Millim is going to do tons of damage. I mean, sure. Do we get Velzard here? We do. Okay. Let's see. Let's alt rush. Boom. So that's good. It also does hit Izis because she is space. Not that it really matters all that much. But we'll bring Violet in. Unfortunately, I can't rush again, and we're not going to get the alt off of these orbs. So I think we're just going to do this, and we'll alt rush next turn as well. Is that going to work? I think it should work. We don't really need the Pierce Power. We don't need the Drago buff from Izis at all, so that's not a useful skill in this specific scenario. Yeah, let's do this. We can alt rush. We can give both Guy and Millim their EX alts. Maybe we have enough points left over to do the Violet buff, hopefully. If not, we'll just come back and when we have the actual run. You guys know what I'm going for here. Maybe. Okay. Oh, okay, so we don't have enough there. We need to do it within 5 turns. So, yeah. We're going to need a better hand for this to work out. So, I'm going to make a cut back to turn 3 when we're ready to swap out and use everything together. Okay, we are back. We have the turn that we want. 148 points on turn 3 with the Milim Exalt allows us to do the storage of the attack and the magic buff, the big time buffs here. And then we're just going to simply swap them out. So you go away. I actually don't want to bring Guy in yet. So, because I don't want his alt here. Because I don't have enough points to swap it. So I think we're just going to do this. Violet will kill Diablo, which is fine. He's the one doing damage anyway. And Geld, well, yeah, we can leave Geld. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Isis does not have any of the other attack or anything buffs, so she'll do the least amount of damage on her 200% orb. Yeah, 180k. Please don't... Oh dear. Okay. I think we're fine. We just need to have enough points to use the synergy, the personal buff for Milim, and then the 2 buffs from Isis. Well, actually, the 1 buff from Isis. So, is that enough? 50 plus 25 plus 15? Oh, yeah, it is. Okay, so let's do that. Math. Let's get her in here so Rimuru can come out. We've used his buffs already. And then we'll bring Guy in for Violet since we've used her buff already. And now let's see some power. Yeah. So synergy power, weakness strike, alt damage, magic resistance down, alt resistance down. This is going to be a literal crap ton. Plus the Drago that we're going to get from Velzard, which is also an element buff. Okay, 24% attack. Excellent. 24% weakness strike from a barrier stone. Okay, well, wasn't really ready for that. Must have been activated while I was doing this, but yeah, that's there. It's not always going to be there, so maybe cut the expectation back a little bit. Magic attack, attack buff, synergy power 48%, weakness strike 120%, the element buff. This is going to be really, really good. Okay, and then here we now have the 120% alt resistance down. So let's watch Milim's alt. This will be the last part of the video, just showcasing what Isis can do for other teams. She is a primary support character. She's not meant to do damage, and she won't do a lot of damage because her multiplier is terrible on her alt. But what is her value for other Magic teams currently existing and moving forward? I think it's very high. So the fact that everyone got 10 free, well, technically 11 free multis for her, and she's on other ticket banners is really good, because it gives people multiple chances to pull her. And Milim does... She has 10 million damage. Okay. Probably 9.7 or something without that barrier stone active. That's still a lot of damage that this team didn't have before, okay? That is actually kind of stupid right there. Isis is a really, really good support character, and I really hope that you guys got her for your free tickets, or you can pull her from all the other ticket multis and ticket locations that she exists on. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this Isis turned out. She's not a damage dealer. She's not meant to be. I have no qualms about that. Dedicated supports should be really good supports, and I think that she's a really good support character, which is not very expensive. So let me know what you guys think of Isis, the new Awakened version, and the Unbound, which we didn't really see a lot of, but not a big deal. But that's it from me, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.